G'day, welcome back, I'm Andrew, and in this video I'm going to show you how I started the Syntropic Gardens and have a look at how it's progressed over the last 3 to 4 years. When I purchased the property, there weren't many trees on site, apart from a few token fruit trees and ornamental shrubs. The property had a nice gentle slope, which is perfect for setting up a syntropic system. I started at the top of the property and worked my way down the slope, installing bed after bed as I had the time and resources. When I bought the property, the area had just gone through a really severe drought. So I decided to install a mini swale system for the beds to maximise water capture for the future. I measured the beds out with some string and rope to give me some shape for the beds. I wanted to work with the contour of the property versus having straight lines. I dug a small trench about 20 to 25 centimetres deep on the top end and the bottom end of each beds. I used the fill from this and put this back onto the bed. I then smoothed out the bed to get rid of any large rocks which I would use later on other projects. I then topped up the beds with some compost and manure which I got from a nearby neighbour. After I topped up the beds, I then mulched them with what I had on hand. I used cardboard and newspaper and some butcher's paper which I had from moving to keep the weeds down. Then I finished my mulching with some hay mulch from my friend's property. This is great for keeping the weeds down, helping build soil and keeping the moisture in the beds. I give the beds when I initially mulch a sprinkle of water just to help soak in and begin the process of in situ composting. I work on a strategy of planting trees and shrubs at around 2 metres or 6 feet apart. I use a successional planting strategy which allows for tighter spacing. I do have a couple of helpers who randomly show up on the property from time to time. However, they do have a tendency to have a nap and fall asleep on the job. It's amazing how quickly plants can take off with the right conditions. Most of the native species have grown at least twice the rate as non-native species. As we're in a subtropical climate, bananas have been an integral part of the syntropic lines. As well as being super productive, bananas provide a number of other benefits in a syntropic system. They offer shade to more vulnerable species while they get going, and the leaves make for a great mulch. I use many native Australian species as my overstory or canopy layer. They provide shade and protection for the lower layers and other more vulnerable species. Mango is another species I use as a canopy layer as they can grow quite large. However, it isn't as fast growing as many of the Australian natives. In the sub-canopy layer I use species such as coffee, citrus, apples, and also a highly productive crop is Feijoa. Plums are also a good crop for this mid-level layer. However, the possums and the other native Australian species love them. Pomegranates are one of my favourites and they're so easy to grow and they're very tough and resilient. Another highly useful species I used in the system is pigeon pea, which I would classify as a mid-level or a sub-canopy tree. Pigeon pea is a perennial legume which grows at about 1 to 4 metres in height. The pigeon pea is a nitrogen fixer, which helps build soil fertility. The pigeon pea also produces edible seeds, which are rich in protein, dietary fibre and various minerals and vitamins. The pigeon pea are relatively easy to harvest. I usually strip them off the tree, then put them into a bucket and shell them into containers. Tamarillos are also a good medium level crop, and you can get crops relatively quickly within 2 to 3 years of planting them. Taro is another great productive low level species which has a lovely tropical foliage. In between these I plant macadamias, which are mid to high level, blueberries, which are low level, and feijoas, which are mid to low level. Citrus is another abundant low to mid level crop, as are multiple species of apples. Peaches are another mid-level variety, while blueberries are perfect for understory plantings. Pineapples are an excellent understory herbaceous layer, as are tomatoes. I've found that in our subtropical climate, smaller cherry-like tomatoes tend to fare better, as the humidity and wet conditions that prevail in the summer months can often impact production of the larger varieties. I use pumpkins and sweet potatoes as a productive ground cover, and are low maintenance and pretty much do their own thing. Arrowroot is a fantastic plant for a ground cover or a low level crop, which is super productive. 2 or 3 kilos right here, so good source of food, protein. Beans and passion fruit are perfect for running along structures and between other shrubs and tree species. I interplant ginger wherever I have the spare space, as it's easy to grow and doesn't take up a lot of room. Ground covers or herbaceous layers such as watermelon, zucchini and cucumbers are low maintenance and highly productive. Corn can also be interplanted between trees and shrubs, as can tomatoes and seasonal greens. Often overlooked in food production, aesthetics is not only important for our mental well-being, but it also is crucial for the development of highly productive farms and gardens, as well as the promotion of beneficial insect species. Most plants by nature are aesthetically pleasing. Studies have shown that spending time in a natural environment has numerous health and well-being benefits. At various times throughout the year, nature puts on a burst of colour, changing form, giving us and other creatures an opportunity to enjoy her beauty and bounty. Aesthetics in nature are central for human well-being and a source of inspiration. When we build diverse landscapes and ecosystems, we help create habitat for native species. Since planting hundreds of trees and shrubs, I've noticed a significant increase and frequency of wildlife visiting. For the first few years after planting, there's minimal production. Usually it takes 3 to 4 years before we see any significant production with most fruit trees, as the trees and shrubs are getting their root systems established. Then 2 or 3 years in, plants start to explode with fruit. Mulberries are a great addition to any food forest or syntropic line. Beware though, once they get established, they are heavy croppers. I'm still eating mulberries I froze 3 to 4 years ago. Bananas are also big producers and can be frozen or dehydrated when we have an overabundance. As a ground cover during the summer months, I use cucumbers, which are amazingly abundant. Keeping ahead of production so fruit and vegetables don't spoil is a major part of the farming process which many people overlook. As a society, we've lost many of the skills which were once commonplace. Pickling, fermenting, canning, freezing and dehydrating are essential skills needed when we have abundant production. Pickling involves preserving vegetables in a solution of vinegar, salt, herbs and spices, which creates an acidic environment that inhibits bacterial growth. As well as allowing excess produce to be stored, fermentation has numerous health benefits such as improved digestion, as the process helps produce probiotic bacteria, which helps improve gut health. Tomatoes are super productive and versatile and can be canned, preserved and dehydrated. I highly recommend investing in a dehydrator as it's an invaluable tool and can be used to preserve most fruit and vegetables. As well as developing syntropic garden beds, I also wanted to increase the water capacity of the property. So I started digging a small pond between some trees and shrubs to minimise evaporation. I wanted to do it by hand with the help of some basic hand tools, of course. Every time I felt like a bit of a workout, I would go down to the pond and chip away for a few hours. The first foot or two was rich topsoil, which I relocated to create further garden beds. Once I chipped through the topsoil, I reached a clay-like material. Many of my friends, when I explained what I was up to, said I was mad and I should just hire a small digger and knock the job over in a few hours. I wanted to dig the pond by hand as I wanted to enjoy the experience and get a workout at the same time. Unfortunately, before I finished the pond, we received 200 to 300 mils of rain in a relatively short period of time. My pond kept filling up before I had the chance to finish it off. When the pond eventually drains off, I'll endeavour to landscape the pond into a natural pool and habitat for native species. Apart from the abundant food production, using a syntropic method has helped me to be more creative and focus me on looking for more growing opportunities between species. In an ideal world, a multiple succession planting strategy would ensure more efficient use of space. I've chosen to take a gradual approach and take my time, introducing new species over a longer time horizon as plants have become seasonally available. My initial idea was to create an experimental site where I could experiment and trial various species, strategies, and share my learnings with a broader audience. Eventually, as production increases, I will sell produce to fruit and veg shops around the area and create a veggie box scheme. The focus hasn't been on maximising production as such, it's been more on mindful interaction and exploring what works, what's possible, and how we can create more resilient and productive ecosystems and communities. In a world where technology seems to be increasingly invading our lives, spending time in the Syntropic garden helps me to relax, unwind, and be present in nature. It's not all about production, it's about the aesthetics, beauty, tranquility, and peace that a syntropic system or any garden system can create in our lives. Reconnecting to nature is key to living a more holistic, stress-free and fulfilling life. So I urge every one of you, if you have the opportunity, to get out there and start living the dream. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please share and subscribe to our channel so we can spread the love of Syntropics, regenerative farming and self-reliance along the way.